Hey, what's up guys? Thank you so much for clicking on this video. If you want to watch the ones before this, we'll put a link in the description below on the ones before this video. Also, there'll be probably something up here on the last video we did.
Yeah, and we're also going to put a little picture of disclaimers just so we don't have to go over them.
Yeah, and before we start off with our number 60, we're going to start off with our honorable mention. For my honorable mention, I'm gonna do John Wick, which is a movie that's really not known for its storyline, even though the storyline is kind of pretty good, but the movie itself is really known for its fight scenes, because the fight scenes, the choreography is amazing. It's a lot of wide shots on the action scenes, which is really what you want with a good action scene, is wide shots, because unlike some bad action scenes that do a lot of cuts to different things, this one just shows you it all at once.
My honorable mention for this video is Star Wars Rogue One, and this is a movie that really, it takes place before New Hope, and it really answers why there is such a big design flaw in the Death Star, and it really treats war like war, and it has a lot of casualties by the end of the movie, and it has a really awesome scene with Darth Vader in the end.
For my number 60, I'm gonna go with Paddington, and I honestly absolutely love this movie. It's one of the best kids movies, and what's really cool about this movie is the whole movie just feels completely like a kid's movie. But at the same time, it somehow also can easily appeal to adults. And that has to do probably with the fact that even though Paddington never really develops himself as a character, because of him, the characters around him develop. In this movie also, I just love the fact that it has such silly humor at times, because it is a kid's movie and you have to understand that. So there are some things that don't make complete sense, like why is everyone okay with this random bear talking? It's just stuff you have to accept, but overall there's just so many great hilarious scenes, and it's really just an amazingly just heartwarming film.
My number 60 is Under the Skin, and this is it's kind of an well, it really is an alien movie, but it's done in a completely different way. It's a lot quieter, it's a lot slower than you would expect, it's a lot more artistic than a regular alien movie, and it really has a really nice metaphor on how people perceive beauty.
My number 59 is going to be Star Wars The Force Awakens, which is a great beginning to a otherwise underwhelming trilogy. I really like this movie. Unfortunately, like I said, underwhelming. So there's a lot of stuff in this movie that was really set up amazingly that nothing ever really happened with it later on. But if we're just talking about this movie by itself, you have some amazing, amazing characters. Kylo Ren is an amazing villain, and I know I'm gonna get hate on this, but I love Darth Vader. But if we're talking about first movies in general, Kylo Ren was an amazingly very interesting villain. A little bit even more interesting than Darth Vader, in my opinion, if we're talking about first movies alone. You really get inside of his head, really understand that he is trying so hard to be something that the back of his head really just does not want to be. And just overall, Rey, I feel like, is a great character, just a self-sufficient character.
My number 59 is Sinister, and this is a horror movie that is really unsettling. It's about a writer who moves into a house that he's trying to write a book about, and he comes across these homemade videos of horrible murders. And the music just adds to the creepiness and the unsettling aspect of this movie. It's one of the best music that I've heard in a horror movie. And you really start to feel the obsession and the desperation of this writer to really write a book and relive the glory they did in the past, as well as try to figure out what happened in these videos. For our number 58, we both have Her, and this is another movie that really sounds silly if you just know the plot of it, because it's about Joaquin Phoenix plays this guy who falls in love with his AI system. It's kind of like him falling in love with Siri, pretty much. But once you watch the movie, you really start to realize that this movie is kind of set in the near future. So it's like the AI is like so advanced that it's actually like a real person that you're talking to. Yeah. It's not like Siri, where you like just fall in love with a semi-sentient AI. So you really start to feel the connection between the two characters.
Yeah, and what I love about this movie is what I kind of thought it was going to be is kind of like there gets to be a point is like where I thought it was going to be like, is technology going too far or whatever, one of those kind of things, But overall, this movie really just, it really treats the AI system as a character, almost as a person, And so you really actually care about this AI system as well, and this Joaquin Phoenix character and Joaquin Phoenix's character. And it all just comes together with kind of in a very emotional scenes because of it. For both of our 57s, we're gonna go with Interstellar. Now, I do want to talk about Matthew McConaughey, but I had seen this before, Dallas Buyers Club. So even though I said earlier that Dallas Buyers Club with Matthew McConaughey's rise out of this kind of generic hot guy role, to me, it was Interstellar because when I saw him in first. And to me, this movie really just showed me how great of an actor Matthew McConaughey is. I never really saw him as a true actor before this film. And he just does amazingly. All the acting is pretty amazing. And it's a really beautiful movie.
Yeah, and you get a lot of emotional scenes, especially with Matthew McConaughey, because he's out in space and he starts to deal with going to planets where time works differently. So him being on a planet for just a few minutes is several years on Earth. So he starts to lose connection with his children that he has on Earth. And so it really deals with a lot of emotional scenes.
For my 56, I'm gonna go with Nightcrawler, which is a movie starring Jake Gyllenhaal. And this movie just kind of leaves you with kind of a dirty feeling, just because of how terrible of a person Jake Gyllenhaal's character is in this film. He's a character that's willing to do anything in order to succeed in filming these tragedies or these crimes, just filming them for news stations. And it just really leaves you with that dirty feeling. Also, you just love, because I think Zach brought it up earlier, I just love that they had casted him for this movie and they never told him to do anything, but he just felt like it would make more sense, it would be better if he lost weight for this film. And so he lost quite a bit of weight, and it really just works for his character. It makes him a lot creepier.
And what's the director's name? Is it Martin McDonagh?
What are you talking about?
The 4-3. Oh yeah, you know what I'm talking about. 3 Billboards Outside Eb.
Yeah, Martin McDonagh. Have you ever seen Raising Arizona? All right, that's a good movie.
Where did Martin McDonagh do that movie?
No, but it just reminds me because his name is Hyde McDonough or something like that.
My 56 is 3 Billboards Outside Eb, Missouri, which is a really mouthful of a title. And this director, Martin McDonough, he really knows how to have kind of dark subjects, but really have kind of comedic lines throughout the movie.
My number 55 is going to be 8th Grade, which is Bo Burnham's directorial debut, and it really just makes you realize how much he really needs to start making movies, especially A24 and these more type of relatable films. It's a movie about a girl in 8th grade, and that's pretty much like what this movie is about. It's about a girl in 8th grade finding herself. And honestly, if you are anything like this girl, you're gonna relate to it and almost feel extremely uncomfortable while watching it, because you'll kind of think of those times where you were shy in school and you were around a group of people, a group of people you're trying to be friends with, but you didn't really know what to do around them. And it really goes over that. It really amplifies the anxiety of these types of situations.
For my 55, I have Wolf of Wall Street, which is a Martin Scorsese movie. It's 3 hours long, but it doesn't feel like it's 3 hours. It honestly feels like it's only 2 hours because of how fast paced it is. And it has a lot of great acting. Leonardo DiCaprio really deserved the Oscar for this movie, to be honest. Although, who was it? Matthew McConaughey who beat him this year. I feel like he did really great too, but Leonardo DiCaprio is honestly one of the best roles he's had in his career.
My number 54 is going to be Good Time, which is my introduction to the Safdie brothers, as well as my introduction to the amazing actor that Robert Pattinson is today. And this movie, if you know anything about Safdie brothers, you'll understand that their movies are very anxiety driven. This one is pretty anxiety driven and just very well acted. It has a really intriguing story as well about a brother who's trying to steal money in order to get his mentally challenged brother out of jail.
My number 54 is 12 Years a Slave, and this is a really extremely brutal movie. It's a really hard movie to watch. It's about a guy back when slavery was legal, who lived in the North, but he gets tricked and kidnapped and brought to the South and is sold as a slave. And it has some great acting. Michael Fassbender probably did a little bit too great of acting, but just overall it's a great cast, great directing, and just overall just tough to watch.
My number 53 is going to be Uncut Gems, which actually is another Safdie brothers movie, but to me, they're almost about equal in quality. I just found Uncut Gems to be a little bit better. And, you know, this is a movie that really kind of showed how great of an actor Adam Sandler is. He has shown it before in the past, but not too often. And this is a more recent example. This movie right here is kind of the peak of anxiety-driven films, because that's all this movie is just completely anxiety-driven. Just one anxiety-filled scene after the next.
My number 53 is Insidious, and this is another movie, another horror movie that really has an interesting idea with it of like people getting trapped in not really dreams, but in these states of being asleep and going off into a different dimension and having to go into this dimension to try to pull them out. And it's directed by James Wan, who's a really great horror director, and this is one of his better ones.
For my number 52, I'm gonna go with Guardians of the Galaxy, which is a very kind of one of the most underdog movies of the MCU. It's a movie that nobody really knew these characters whatsoever. I mean, I'm pretty sure were people, but they were definitely not one of the popular characters of Marvel. And honestly, this movie is why I am looking forward to movies like Shang-Chi with these characters that nobody really knows about, because Marvel has already proven themselves to have gotten these unpopular characters and made them into something great. Guardians of the Galaxy, honestly, is just purely hilarious. It's one of the movies where it's extremely funny, but it's one of the few in the MCU that never feels like the comedy is misplaced.
My number 52 is Molly's Game, and like Marquez said in the previous video, this is Aaron Sorkin's directorial debut, and he's been a writer of movies for a while now. He wrote The Social Network, and a lot like The Social Network, Molly's Game cuts back and forth between time periods. It has a lot of flashbacks to what the characters in the present time are talking about, and does it really well to where it's really fast flowing and high energy. And the conversations that are had in this movie, like Marquez said, there's two really big scenes that are honestly two of my favorite scenes of this entire decade.
My number 51 is actually gonna be Paddington 2, which is funny because the beginning of this video was Paddington. This is gonna be Paddington 2. And to me, this one very slightly tops Paddington. And it really is very similar reasons why I like this movie. This movie has a very silly concept. The storyline is a little bit even more silly than the first one. And it has this villain, but it's a really funny way of telling the story, because like I said, these movies really, while you're watching them, you're like, these movies are purely for kids. Why are they so enjoyable? And they just are. And just like the first one, this movie has these characters which just develop and grow as characters around Paddington because of Paddington, but Paddington himself never really develops because his character is just so set, and you really don't want him to change ever.
My number 51 is The Other Guys, and a lot like 21 Jump Street, this has some really extremely dumb humor, but it's done extremely well. This is honestly one of the funniest movies I've seen like all time, not just this decade.
Well, there it is, guys. There is our 60 through 51 out of our 100 best 100 movies of the decade. Like I said at the beginning of the video, if you want to, you can go into the description below, and we'll have links to our other videos before this. And if you really don't want to watch those videos at all, and you just want to go from here, we're gonna put our list in the description below as well.
And don't forget to follow us on social media. We have Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all at 2AwesomeMen.
And as always, thank you so much for watching, and you will see us later.